Guys, I just wanted to take a second, now that we've finished this unit and we're moving into the test next class, and you're going to be reviewing tonight or this weekend, and just take a second to think about the first half of this unit versus the second half of this unit, and how are they similar and how are they different. Okay, in the first half of the unit, we did problems like these blue ones here. Or, sorry, this was the second half of the unit. Sorry, the second half of the unit. The one you just took a quiz on, inverse trig functions, were like these types of problems. What we did for the first quiz in the first half of the unit was solving trig equations. It looked like this. I want you to take a few minutes for yourself and on just a piece of paper or a Google Doc, write yourself a couple notes like how are these problems similar between the blue and the pink, and how are they different between the blue and the pink? How do the problems look different? How do the answers look different? How are they similar? Take a few minutes to think it over. Pause the video for a couple seconds. All right, I hope you really paused and gave this some thought, okay? Things that I'm hoping you noticed. How are they similar? They're similar because both of them are solving for angles. Solving, or maybe I should say finding, angles. You're finding thetas for both of them. You should be using your unit circle for most of the problems, maybe not all of them. But unit circle is a big concept for these. One place where they differ, though, is in how they look. So in the problems that we just took a quiz on, the inverse trig functions, you're going to see the word arc or inverse. And when you see those words, it is super important that you know for your test next class that arc and inverse can only have one answer. Arc or inverse only have one answer. And that's because inverses, we wanted it to be a function, or the mathematicians in the universe wanted this to be a function, so they restricted those domains. Oh, that's another important thing. These guys, and they have restricted domains, or restricted quadrants, we could say, I guess. Okay, the no-fly zone applies to these inverse and arc problems. When you look at the other two problems that we did in the beginning of the unit, these guys are equations. Notice the equations, they have equal signs in them. So we had to like isolate that sine theta or that cosine theta. So that's something how they look different. Okay? Equations have equal signs. And we had to isolate. To isolate the sine theta or cosine theta or whatever it was. And when you did that, we ended up solving them and finding the families and finding the quadrants. And these guys, these equations here at the bottom, these guys are the ones that are going to have usually more than one answer. These guys are going to have more than one answer. Not always, it's not a guarantee. But usually they have more than one answer. I remember ones that we did in that Kahoot in Stinger where we had to do like a square root, which meant it was a plus or minus, which meant it was actually all 4 quadrants worth of answers, right? It has more answers when it's an equation. There's more possible things it could be. Whereas the inverses or the arcs, these ones here at the top, those guys are only allowed to have one solution. All right, I hope that little recap was helpful. Feel free to reach out to me if you guys need help, and good luck on your test next week.